You're listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, giving you weekly sports analysis, opinions, and discussion. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and J-Raff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 179th episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays, alongside of me, co-host J-Raff.
Yeah, it's good to be back, kind of continuing on through our extended fall topics for through the summer. And that's quite okay. There has been no dramatic turnaround in Major League Baseball that makes us want to really address that in any length. I'm fine talking football.
Football season is essentially mid-June, if you start previews like we do this early, through the draft whenever that's held. So end of April, early May. So you essentially have 1 month break. And that's the kind of the way the show has devolved and now completely focuses around football almost exclusively. It doesn't help that people like, the Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers.
Yeah.
They're all awful.
I sent out the group text earlier this week, and it was kind of stunning to me when I was thinking through it, because I was pretty sure I knew who I would pick, but I said, which Philadelphia team is going to be the next to, I don't know if I said win a conference championship or appear in a national
Yeah, I don't remember what you said.
But either way, I think the statement still stands, and I think I know. I think you have to pick the Eagles because I feel like they are the closest. Not saying that they're going to do it this year, but just in terms of they're not a complete and utter failure right now.
Right.
And not that the Flyers are a complete and utter failure, but there's a lot of strong teams ahead of them.
Yeah.
Didn't make the playoffs, so I guess you could say that's a failure. When 8 teams make it. But then, the Sixers are not close.
No.
And you have the best player in the league in your division.
Right.
Or in your conference.
Yeah.
So that's going to be incredibly tough. And then in baseball, the Phillies are historically bad. This might be the worst Phillies team of our lifetime. Record-wise.
I mean, that's crazy to think about because we've
some
seen
of those
some
teams
terrible teams.
Terrible.
And it's hard to think that some of these guys are playing on a team that could be one of the worst in the
It's
history
hard
of
to
the
it's
team.
hard to fathom this, but there's some people that are thinking now is when the wheels are going to fall off, and that makes you think the wheels hadn't fallen off
already.
Like we weren't.
The wagon wasn't just sitting there.
We weren't just tumbling down the street, losing people.
Yeah. Obviously, Ryan Sandberg resigned just a few days ago.
At first, I was mad. I thought, oh man, he really quit on the team. But then, you know what? They're bringing in the guy probably to be the president of the team, the guy who was one of the people making the decision to not hire him in Chicago.
Right.
The team's doing poorly.
They could kind of see where he could see the direction that the upper level organization and team manager was heading, and why not go out on your own terms?
Right. And we're not going to go a lot into this. I feel bad for him because I really feel like this is an unfortunate situation to get your first real shot at being a major league manager. At the same time, he did nothing to really prove that, hey, I really should be a major league manager. So,
yeah, he made some head-scratching moves or didn't make some moves that should have been made.
Right.
And this is where we are. So he got, a full season and 2 partial seasons, one a partial at the end and now a partial at the beginning. So I'm not even sure he made it a full 2 seasons. I don't think he coached 300.
There was only a full in between. It was partial, full, partial.
So that's that, and that era is over. The heyday of the Phillies era ended in 2011, essentially when Brian Howard tore his Achilles. That was literally the end of the great Philly squads from, I say 07 to 11 because those are the teams that won division banners or better. But actually, I mean, those Phillies teams were building since 2002.
Right.
Even back with the end of the Boa regime before Manuel got here, things were trending upwards. They were going 500, and then they get a few games above. And I remember in 05 or 06, both times in the last few games, they were pushing for a wild card spot, and they weren't able to break through and get it.
I believe it was 06 when they traded Abreu.
And because everyone counted
went
them out
and said, it's going to be a few years before we compete. We're not even worried about competing. And they made the playoffs the next year.
Yep.
I feel like Gillick, a lot of people are kind of pushing him out the door, because I feel like his heart's not really in it, but he still has the back of Ruben Amaro Jr. and a lot of people want to see gone. So it's only gonna get worse. I don't think it's gonna get better for the Phillies in the immediate future, meaning this season. So look out, there could be plenty of fallout there. So
All right, so we're talking football the rest of the show. We're finishing or continuing our NFL preview. This is week 2 of 8 of the preview. We are still out on the West Coast, but we're going to go to the National Football Conference this week, focusing on an interesting division, one that was expected to be one of the best in football last year. At times it lived up to the hype, but one specific team I definitely think fell short, and they've fallen off a cliff now, being the San Francisco 49ers. The Seahawks probably still sitting pretty at top, but it's interesting to see what we'll get from the Cardinals and Rams. So Justin and I are going to get into that all very shortly, but first we do want to remind you that this is an interactive show. We love to talk with our fans and listeners, and Justin has some of that information on contacting us for you right now.
Yeah, we'd love to have your take on any of the teams or outcomes that we kind of talk about tonight. You can call the show using the Mace Sandwich Shop hotline at 530-563-6297. Again, 530-563-6297. You can also email the show using the Mace Sandwich Shop email inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. Again, joemaysandjraff@gmail.com.
We also have a social media presence. Obviously, we're on the basics, Facebook and Twitter. Those are the ones that we utilize regularly, especially Facebook. We have that up during the show. We try to post reminders and links to the upcoming shows. And, like our page there, follow us on Twitter at @JoeMaysandJraff. And as always, over the last few weeks, we've been mentioning we do have a new website. It's a great place to get caught up on all things Justin and Joey here on the radio show. It's simple to get there, joemaysandjraff.com, or even simpler, jmnjr.com will get you there. And like I said, it has our upcoming schedule. It has a great contact section. It has links to the past shows actually built into the webpage, audio through SoundCloud, and video embedded from our YouTube page. So you can find everything and just get caught up all on our website, joemaysandjraff.com. All right, first and only topic of the evening on episode 179 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff show is the continuation of our 2015 NFL preview. Yes, the end of June, and we're already on the second division of 8 in our NFL preview, but sometimes that's just the way it works out. And with the other Philadelphia sports failing so much and us not quite to the end of the Women's World Cup, because I'd love to be talking about the women in the championship game the next time we're on the show, which the game will have been over by then. So hopefully we're congratulating Abby Wambach, Alex Morgan, and Hope Solo, and all the ladies playing for Team USA. Allie Krieger as well, former Penn State graduate.
Right.
So a lot of great soccer players playing in the Women's World Cup right now, and the U.S. will be playing rival Germany in the semifinals.
Top 2 teams in the world.
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
So Tuesday night.
Yeah, top 2 teams in the world, according to the rankings. And that's because of the way the pool play works out, where you end up slotted. It's not like a traditional tournament, per se, where the top 2 teams wouldn't meet until the final. Here, the top 2 teams are meeting in the semifinal, and that's just the way it kind of plays out. And that's not unique to women's soccer. That's how soccer is run.
Unfortunately, because I'm obviously a soccer novice. I'm much more a fan of the women's game than the men's game, but I don't actually even know who the other 2 teams left in the other semi are.
England and Japan.
I was going to say, is it Japan? Yep. So that's actually a great opportunity for the U.S. beat either the best team in the world or the team considered your rival in talent.
You would,
and then in the final possibly vanquish
whoever wins. The top 3 teams. I don't know where Japan is ranked, but I believe they've won 2 or
they
the
won,
last 2
won
or
in
2 of the last 3 women's World Cups. So they are one of the best teams generally, regarded as one of the best teams. Germany and the U.S. are great teams. And then you have England, who is a good team, but making their first World Cup semifinal appearance ever.
On the women's side.
They beat the host Canada. Yeah, sorry, on the women's side. They beat the host Canada last night.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I was hoping it was Japan, just because I'd like to see the U.S. be able to a little revenge for 2011.
Right,
so.
Exactly. You want to see, as much as you want your team to kind of win, and sometimes, whatever it takes, if that means playing weaker teams, so be it, but it's more fun when your team beats the best teams, So if they beat Germany and Japan here in the last 2,
they're clearly the best.
Man, they earned it.
Absolutely.
Man, you earn it. They have some ridiculous streak right now, the women's team, of not giving up a goal in 400 some minutes of game time or something absurd.
Well, they shut out everyone since the beginning. The first game was the only game that anyone scored.
And they gave up a goal early in that game.
Right.
So
it's been a long time since Hope Solo's had one go past her. So good luck to the ladies Tuesday night. Hopefully in 2 Sundays, July 12th, when we're back here to talk AFC South, we can congratulate the ladies on winning World Cup, the first in a while. They've done well in the Olympics, but they've struggled to capture the World Cup crown now in a couple go-rounds. So good luck to the women's national team. All right, we got about 20 minutes left, so we got 5 minutes per team here in the the NFC West. I think we'll do something a little bit different this week, and I think we should just run down all four. Okay. And then we'll dive into the discussion.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm gonna let you go first and give me your 1 through 4, or if you want to start crappy to best, you can do that as well. All right, who's your bottom feeder then?
I'm going 49ers.
Ouch! Oh man, that one. I mean, I'm not a fan, but crazy to think about that, right?
I think they've fallen a long way. I really don't know enough about the new coach to say what I think is going to happen there long term. I think he's going to get an unfair amount of heat this year. But you look at it, they lost, regardless of what you think of him, and he does wear thin on people. But to lose Harbaugh, and like you look what he did for that team. Like they went from bad to Super Bowls, and then they fell off last year. But we nailed that.
We nailed that one, yeah.
I just think sometimes you'll see a little bump when you get rid of that coach that was just driving everyone nuts.
Yep.
The problem is a lot of the key guys who may or may not have been driven nuts by Harbaugh are like just went up and quit. Not quit. I don't mean it to sound like getting that debate of they quit on the team, but they had a bunch of guys retire.
Right.
And most key guys,
if not all of them, almost all of them said it was because of health, injury possibilities.
Right. Yeah. I just mean a lot, almost to a T. Every one of them mentioned, they're weighing the risk of playing football versus the rewards of playing football, and hey, that's their decision. Best of luck to them in whatever they choose to do now. I can't help but think though that playing for years under a coach that you may not get along with helps diminish your love and desire to keep playing football.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Now, whether that's a tangible thing because he's gone, I don't know, and I can't speak for those guys, but that just wears on you. Like they become long seasons, especially last year when you're not as successful as everyone thinks you should be. That can really wear, and that 16-game season, which you add on the 4 preseason games and the training camp and all that stuff, that becomes it seems much longer. Probably felt like a 24-game season last year. Probably felt longer than their Super Bowl run season. You know what I mean? Just the way things were going. They lose a lot of key guys, specifically a lot of key defensive guys, but they lost
Patrick Willis,
Vernon
Chris
Davis
Borland,
too, who I know has had his ups and downs, but still, is talented. But then you look at like Kaepernick, huge unknown. I think Vernon Davis retired. Maybe he didn't, but anyway,
I don't think so.
Oh, never mind.
I was like, I don't know, that one doesn't sound familiar. Yeah, breaking news. We're with a new TMZ in sports, right?
So anyway, but still, they lost a bunch of guys on offense. They lost Frank Gore. To
the Eagles, right? No, he's in Indianapolis.
Exactly.
We'll talk about that in the next show.
But I just don't know if they have the pieces in place to kind of regroup. They also, I think they're going to struggle, like with Kaepernick, like. A lot of people felt like Harbaugh made Kaepernick.
We'll find out quickly.
Right. On the other hand, you could look last year though. Did Harbaugh make Kaepernick not as good? I don't know. I think there's so many unknowns there, and many of the possibilities are if everything works in their favor. Right? If everything works in their favor, I still think they might be an 8 or 9 win team. If everything breaks in their favor. So in reality, I probably have them like 6 or 7 wins. That's my guess. I think there's still enough talent there to win some games, but I also think they're going to be in a really tough division without having gone through the others.
Last year they won 8.
I think
they were 8-8 in third. I definitely think they win fewer. So I think you're talking 6. I would say 6. I think 6.
Right. If I put it at 6, I'd say it's more likely they're less than 6 than more than 6, because I feel like we could easily be sitting here in the middle of October and being like, man, the wheels were only starting to fall off when all the guys retired.
I could see that. I mean, I agree. I have the
'Cause
49ers in last.
One of the things they talk about is the depth of these NFL teams, and when you have a lot of retirees all in one spot, and you have a lot of guys pushed into the starting lineup at once, now when you get those injuries, there's no one there to step in. You know that because you weren't accounting for losing a bunch of good guys all at once. I don't know where I got that Vernon Davis thing in my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure either.
But
I'm trying to think of just some of the other guys that have retired. I know Borland, Willis, and Justin Smith were like the three big ones, but I know there was another one or two. And, with Harbaugh leaving and Kaepernick's fall off a bit. I agree. I just think they're going to be the worst team out there. There doesn't seem to be a lot of confidence around Tom Sula. So I just think they missed their opportunity. They made it to 3 NFC Championship games, 1-1 Super Bowl, couldn't get it done, and now the door's swinging the other way.
Right.
Their window has closed.
Yeah,
and they're in rebuild
part of that
mode.
is because of the other teams. Do you want me to just run through the other three real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Rams in the third spot. I'm gonna go Cardinals in the second spot and Seahawks in the top spot.
Okay.
Now, to kind of elaborate on that, I think the Rams are going to take a step forward. I thought they were better than 6-10 last year.
I think they they were 2-3 in their last 5, though.
Right. You know,
I was going to say, I think they came on at the end, but 2-3 is
they're having a lot of quarterback issues last year. It'll be interesting to see how Nick Foles does there. You know, I don't know did they extend him or are they working on the extension there?
They're working on it, I think.
They're working on an extension there. It's going to be interesting. I think Nick Foles is a good fit for St. Louis in that they're going to run the ball a lot.
I don't think that he's the long-term answer, but he's better than what they had last year. And obviously I don't mean Bradford because he didn't play.
Right.
I'm talking about all the other guys they ran out there.
The guys they're running out of retirement.
And now they added Todd Gurley, and their defense has been very, very strong.
So even if the defense
last year they gave up a lot of points. But
if the defense gives up, takes a step back, I think the offense is going to take 2 steps forward. So I think they're going to be better than last year. I put them around 8-9 wins at the most. I don't really see them winning more than 9, but I could see them as a 500 team, definitely. So I'm going to put them 8 or 9 wins. I think here's the thing though, if they're 8 wins or less, does Jeff Fisher's seat start to get really
warm,
hot, especially with. Is this team going to be in St. Louis moving forward? Because you see that all the time when a team's looking to move. Because we basically saw it with the news this week in the NFL that the NFL is looking for the temporary stadium situations. Yep. That's their kind of way of reining in these teams and trying to settle because all these teams are trying to vie for that spot in Los Angeles. And so the NFL is trying to control it a little bit, which they do have control there, but. You see it a lot where a team's going to move and they just kind of clean, they'll fire the coach, they'll get all new, bringing in big hires and stuff like that. I think Jeff Fisher's a good coach. I think he's got him on the right path, but they need to get at least 8. I think 9 wins and he's safe there. 8, I still think he's safe. I don't know if that's Jeff Fisher wearing off on me, though, just because he kind of exudes this stability like he did in Tennessee.
Right, yeah, and I agree on that point. I'm going to go out on a limb and flip-flop the middle teams.
I thought about it.
I am going to keep the Seahawks at the top, and I think that with the way the 49ers have fallen off, I don't see any challengers to them as the best team in that division. They basically have everyone back, and they added Jimmy Graham.
Right.
So, it's I know they lost some secondary pieces.
Yeah, but they also have some guys back from injuries.
Right.
So
they're just gonna keep plugging along. They could easily be back-to-back Super Bowl champions, vying for a 3rd straight. I doubt Pete Carroll calls Russell Wilson's name over Marshawn Lynch often on the goal line anymore, if ever again. But I definitely think the Seahawks are by far and away the best team in that division.
Throughout the conspiracy theory, especially since the contract situation's gone the other way.
Correct.
He's going to hand it all. They're going to run the ball 60 times a game.
Absolutely. The reason I have the Rams on top of the Cardinals is no reason, pretty much whatsoever. I guess I don't know that I buy into the Cardinals as a reasonable challenger to the Seahawks. And I guess a lot of people who say, why are the Rams? They're not really a reasonable challenger. I'm kind of saying these are both teams pushing for the last wild card spot. I think both Arizona and St. Louis are destined for 9 or 10 wins. And I'll keep them both of them at 9 or 10, but I'll give the edge to the Rams. I don't know. The Cardinals had a great home field advantage last year, but can Carson Palmer play the whole year? I guess is my question.
And that's kind of how I'm banking on them being too, is that he is playing the whole year. And I think their offense takes a big step forward, and their defense at least is as good as last year. You could argue that through the first half of the season, they were the best team in football.
Which is crazy to think, because nothing stands out about them whatsoever at all.
No.
And even Larry Fitzgerald, it's not Larry Fitzgerald of 5 years ago.
And you want to look at it, Eagles fans were mad about how they played the second half of the season. Arizona, that's a game they should have won. If they win that game, they make the playoffs. There were a bunch of games that if the Eagles win, they make the playoffs. Because they would have been tied with Arizona, and then they would have beaten them head to head. So,
right.
It's just, I think that's one where they had threw the ball into the end zone at the end of the game, I believe, and couldn't come down with it. Also, that's the game. Huff dropped the ball inside the 5-yard line. They had a bunch of mistakes and they lost by 4. So that a perfect example of a game that comes back to get you at the end. I just feel like Arizona took a step forward last year and did it without a quarterback for most of the year. If they can get a quarterback, looks like middle of November is when Carson Palmer went down. If they can have a quarterback, even if he can play 14 games, I think they make the playoffs. I'm going to put them at 9 or 10 wins, and I think they make the playoffs.
Okay, so we're pretty close in agreement. We're saying we both think 49ers are at 6. You think 6 or less. I'll say push at 6. I think they're 6 and 10. And we both have kind of the Rams Cardinals flip flop 9 to 10 wins. I have the Rams on top. You have the Cardinals on top. I honestly could see the Seahawks winning 13 or more.
Yeah.
Last year I was a little bit. I'm not so sure about them. And at the beginning of the year, the first third of the season, I mean, even at the 2/3 of the way mark or whatever, 3/4 of the way through, they were 8-4.
Right.
They weren't incredible. And then, next thing, then they win 4 straight, and then they go run through the playoffs, and they have that great comeback against the Packers. They probably could have, should have, would have won the Super Bowl.
They're a team, you could see it coming, at the end of the year. And we talk about that, it seems like every year. They just kind of
hot at the right
see
time.
It coming, and man, they just get hot and relatively healthy, and they just start mowing teams down.
Yeah, and it is interesting to see how the Russell Wilson contract will work out.
I think they're very well suited for it to not affect the play on the field, though. But you never know. I mean, especially if things go south. Let's talk about that contract situation just for a second. I mean, I don't want to get you away from other things that you want to talk about here, but reports are he's asking to be the highest paid. Now, it's negotiation, so we take that into account. But he's asking to be the highest paid player in NFL.
No way.
I completely agree with you on that. However, do you think he's justified in setting his bottom? I was hearing a discussion on this. Setting his bottom at what Cam Newton got paid.
Yes.
I
Setting
agree.
his bottom, sure. But his top is not above Tom Brady, Peyton Manning,
so you don't think
Aaron
he should
Rodgers.
be making more than $22 million a year for 5 years, which is what Aaron Rodgers
I know,
did.
and this says a weird thing because of what just Ryan Tannehill went through.
Right.
But Russell Wilson, and I love the kid. I have nothing against the kid.
I know.
But looking at him, this shouldn't be working, and I feel like it's got to catch up at some point. And I know people will say, "Well, look at Drew Brees." Russell Wilson's a little more athletic than Drew Brees. I know the height comparisons are there, and the Big Ten pedigree. Well, I know Russell Wilson played a lot of NC State too 1 year at Wisconsin, but whatever.
He was better at Wisconsin that 1 year.
Right,
than he
exactly.
was at NC State.
When I see these reports of the numbers that he wants, and I understand why the Seahawks are just no,
right.
We're not doing this.
But here's the thing, and it'll be interesting, especially if they get off to a hot start. You just said they could win 13 games this year or more. If you're sitting there, what if they go out and win another Super Bowl? You've been to 3 straight, and you've won 2 of them. He's a free agent
this spring.
Yeah, well, this spring coming up. And then you've got the guy. So a lot of people, it's like Joe Flacco. We agree that his number's really high. His contract was really high. He bet on himself and he won. He won the Super Bowl the year going into his free agency. you could have Russell Wilson. And I know we talk about, it's more than just him. They have a great defense, all these things. That's true of every Super Bowl team, though. But he could win 2 out of 3 and 1 play away from that third.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't pay him, you have to think someone else is. Someone else is going to pay him.
I mean, this is funny to say because you're talking about if they win it again.
Right.
2 out of 3 Super Bowls, probably should have won a third. A great dynasty in the making. Could they continue it going? Are they going to be able to keep all these guys around? You got to keep the quarterback around. That's a terrible situation for the front office because,
because if you sign him, you're basically ending the dynasty because you're not going to be able to sign other people.
Unless he lights up the world and plays the whole season like Flacco did the playoffs. See, people got blinded because he played so well in the playoffs, and they ignored his regular season pedigree there. But
he almost played him out of the playoffs and then played him into a Super Bowl championship.
Right. Because I think the front office has to think he looks good because he is good. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's obviously a top 10 quarterback in this league. I mean, I know a lot of people would want to put him in the top 3, and I'm hell no. Top 5, I would say no. Top 10, easy.
Well, he doesn't have to deflate the football.
God.
I'm sorry. I don't even believe that. I just said it.
But,
funny.
Yeah, he's worth the money. He's not worth that amount of money. I would say you could put I think he deserves on par and probably a little better than Cam Newton because he's got the rings and rings.
You can also make the argument Cam Newton has done. He's made the playoffs last year. I won't say he has done more with less because he really hasn't done more.
Right.
But if you take into account, they traded away all of Cam Newton's wide receivers. At the same time, you could say they don't really have any good wide receivers in Seattle, and they went and got arguably the best tight end.
In an alternate universe, I'd love to see what Cam Newton would do with that Seahawks.
Well, see,
team.
and that's the crazy thing. I know it doesn't work like that, but they always talk like, I would love to see what so and so would do. The one I always come back to, what would Peyton Manning have done on the Patriots? I don't know. I don't know, and there's no way you could ever argue that. What would happen?
See, and that's the thing. And I'm
know. You
Peyton
can't
Manning fan.
Right.
If you put Peyton Manning on the Patriots, Peyton Manning had weapons.
Right.
Like Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne and Edgerrin James and Joseph Adai for a time. He never really had a defense, which the Patriots had.
Right.
But so would he been the one making names out of at the end of later years Wes Welker, but at the beginning of the years you're talking about these no names at wide receiver.
And that's
Troy Brown. Who played DB at times.
Right. They pulled the Charles Woodson Michigan move and we're playing him on both sides of the ball. I love that conversation of what if you would switch them? Absolutely. If Cam Newton were in that situation, how good would the Seahawks be?
I look at it this way though. Cam Newton is a better athlete, better prototypical size for a quarterback, but I don't think he has it upstairs like Russell Wilson does.
No, not.
So which is more important?
Right, exactly. Oh my!
I don't envy the Seahawks front office. Is what I'm saying.
They're in a no-win situation.
Yeah, because if they sign him now and they tank, the program's screwed.
Right.
If they don't sign him and he explodes, then they send him to a massive contract. The program's screwed. They almost have to be. They have to get those financial guys and be great negotiators. All the lawyers and agents got to meet up. They got to get a contract that's above Cam Newton, but nowhere up into. They kind of have to work the deal like Tannehill did.
Well, and here's the other
he's getting paid.
Here's the other thing. I hear from what I've heard. He's looking for large amounts of guaranteed money, and that's where I negotiate. That's where I say, all right, well, you're not going to be making $22 million a year, but we'll give you, I don't know. I'm just literally making numbers up here, but let's say we give you 5 years, $80 million, but it's all guaranteed. Now see, to me, that's worse than giving him the 110. And giving him 115 million, making him the highest paid player in football, but it's not all guaranteed. He ends up at like 60 million guaranteed. I say 60 million guaranteed like it's nothing.
Good Lord.
But I don't know. You make it all guaranteed, or not all, but you make a large portion of it guaranteed. And also, you're going to see that would be an interesting to see how that affects other contracts.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, to recap, we both agree. Seahawks at the top
Seahawks
by
are getting
far.
it. I think they're running away with it.
I think easily 12 wins. I think they could push 13,
and
14.
I still think it's a good division. I mean, the 49ers, I think, are going to fall off. But I like the Rams. I think the Rams are going to be good this year. I think the Cardinals, if Carson Palmer can stay healthy, I think they're going to be good this year. but I still think they're running away with it.
If Carson Palmer is healthy, I think they could get 10-11. I'm not counting on him being healthy the whole season, so I have him back at
that's
9,
a legitimate
maybe 10.
bet.
But I think the Rams 9-10 and are in front of them. I think both challenge for wild card. We agree 49ers in the basement. So that's the NFC West. We did the AFC West last week. We're both in agreement on our division picks and both. And we go with the same teams from last year. But one we were not so sure on the Broncos, but we're both all in on the Seahawks.
How can you pick against Peyton Manning, though? I mean, I know we saw last year what could be the start to this kind of slide, but I still... Do you trust Phillip Rivers more? Like in the AFC? You know, like if I have to pick, I'm picking Peyton Manning.
Right. All right, so no show next week. It's 4th of July weekend. We're going to hang out with our friends and family and, just let you all enjoy the holiday weekend. So I will say, since we won't be on next week, I'll say happy anniversary to my wife. We got married on the 4th of July, and we'll be celebrating our 6th anniversary this Saturday.
It's crazy. Time flies.
So
man.
Happy anniversary to Kelly and me, but I'll say it to her.
Yeah, probably happier for you.
Thanks for that. So, any other shout-outs over the next 2 weeks?
My brother-in-law's birthday was just this past week.
Oh, happy birthday to Garrett.
My new brother-in-law.
Yes, just a few weeks.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'll probably kick myself after I see something pop up this week, but I think that's it. So we'll be back in 2 weeks on, I think it's July 12th we'll be here, and we'll start the next set of divisions, which we'll be doing the AFC South. So we'll talk all things Jaguars, Titans, Texans, and Colts on the show on episode 180 on Sunday, July 12th at 6:30 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio and Ustream. So thanks for joining us. That wraps up the 179th episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
We hope you tune in every Sunday evening at 6:30 for our take on sports. Until next time, I'm J-Raff.
And I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Don't forget, you can download each episode of the show from the podcast section of the iTunes Store. We'll see you next time, and thanks again for listening.